You're finished, honey.
You told me your life, sweetheart. I put too much into that business to get kicked out now. While you were busy playing around with that slut, I was working my guts out. Can you hear me? You're past it, sure. It's only sluts like Colson will have anything to do with you.
Terry.
What is it, Tony?
Get her. Get that bitch.
Don't try to talk.
Whatever happens to me, get her.
Come in. Ah, Mrs. Maguire.
Last night's report.
Thank you. Any trouble?
No real trouble, but I'm expecting it. Everyone is.
Well, then everybody should be ready for it, shouldn't they?
The prisoners were very dependent on the TV, Mr. Fletcher.
Well, withdrawal symptoms setting in already, eh?
They looked on the recreation facilities as their right. The rec room looks rather bare and depressing at the moment.
But like a prison, perhaps.
I've never been indulgent, sir. Crims are crims. But there's a natural balance between them and us that ought to be preserved. If they're pushed too hard, they'll push back.
Only if we let them. Fletcher? Yes? Right, what's that name again? Colson? Good. That'll be all, thank you, Mrs. Maguire. Right. Well, put her through the usual procedures, then.
You haven't a change of clothes?
Only these.
You can wear your own clothes whilst on remand. Is there anyone who could bring you in a change?
No. Nobody.
Not even a friend of a friend?
There was only my mother down here. She's dead.
Oh, perhaps a friend of hers?
No.
Find her a uniform, will you, Mary? I suppose a change of clothes is the least of your problems. Look, go in and have a shower. I'll get the sister to examine you.
I'm right glad to get out of that madhouse.
Tough night?
We're going to be the ham and the sandwich, you know. Fletcher on one side, B. Smith and her mates on the other. I've had more heaving than I want or need.
Give me your clothes when you're ready, will you, Mary? I'll do the search.
You go.
She shot Tony McNally.
She's living dangerously.
Oh, she's just a child. She was in convent school in Sydney before all this blew up.
Well, after shooting McNally, this is probably the safest place for her.
Wish I could be sure of that. Ah, thanks, Mary.
Only 17, eh? They're getting younger.
She'll age fast enough in this place, poor kid.
She's not a poor kid, Sally. If McNally dies, she's a murderess.
Check these with me, will you, Sal?
Well, I'm on my way. See you.
Bye. 2 bracelets, silver. 2 rings. 1 wallet. $6. A 5 and a 1. No small change. Yes, a photograph. This is probably your mother. Yes. Mum. Botanic Gardens, 1978.
Colson. Isn't she the one
That's right. McNally shot the mother. The daughter shoots McNally. It's a vicious circle, isn't it? Well, list the rest of these off, but don't put them away. She'll have to check them before she signs the receipt. Oh, and see what's keeping the sister.
You got a fag on yet?
Oh, now, you know better than that, Lizzie.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Jackson. I thought you had time for a fag and a chat.
Oh, you're that bored, are you?
Oh, since the flaming telly's been taken away, we don't even know if the Queen of England's gone off with a dustman.
Are you going somewhere, Lizzie?
Yeah, I was just taking this into the staff room, Mrs. Jackson. She going to solitary?
Yes.
Oh, What's she in for? What are you in for, love?
Leave her alone, Lizzie.
She doesn't look old enough to wipe her own bottom. What's your name, love?
Lizzie?
Oh, come on, Mrs. Jackson. When are we going to get our telly back?
Oh, that's up to Mr. Fletcher.
He'd bring the thumbscrew back. He would if he had his way.
He is the acting governor.
Yeah, and you've got to keep your nose clean. We're absolutely starved of news in here. We don't even know what happened to Tony McNally. Did she get off? There's a lot of loot riding on that.
You know the rules about gambling, Lizzie.
Well, I bet a whole packet of fags on that. Did she get off?
Lizzie!
She must have got off. She better have. There'd be a lot of people unhappy around here. Fags is like gold in here.
Lizzie!
All right, I'm going.
Did McNally have many friends in here?
She tried to buy a few, but I don't know how successful she was.
She'd be successful. She'd have friends. Am I going to be locked in with them?
All the women are kept under constant supervision. You'll be perfectly safe. You'll be here for 24 hours. Then you'll be allocated to a cell in one of the main wings.
By myself?
If we have a spare single. Whilst you're here, you'll eat your meals at the same time as the other women, but yours will be brought to you.
Is this where you keep me under observation?
We have to keep a check. See what state you're in.
Whether I'm sane, you mean? I'm sane.
Shooting another human being is hardly a rational act.
The Bible says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
It also says thou shalt not kill.
Do you think I really killed her?
I hope not. You're too young to spend the rest of your life in here.
They all knew she'd murdered my mother. Everybody did. Nobody cared. You should have seen their faces when that smart lawyer got her off. Some of them cheered. And she was laughing. As though she'd done something clever.
Well, it's over now.
No. It's not over till she's dead and buried. Thanks for letting me keep this. It's not exactly home, is it?
Didn't you realize you'd be punished for what you did?
I didn't think about it. I only thought about Mum.
Mum?
Oh, Dr. Miller, you shouldn't have come. I know you're so busy.
How are you feeling today?
Oh, quite well, thank you. Well enough to go home, really.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could just have a word with the doctor. Get me out of here.
That hurt, didn't it?
Yes, a little.
It hurt a lot. That's because you have pleurisy, and the place for pleurisy is in a hospital bed. Now, why this frantic urge to get home?
Judy's all by herself.
Judy can look after herself, Mum. She's pregnant, not retarded.
I know her. You should see the rubbish she eats when I'm not there. She'd live on potato chips if you let her. And she mustn't. Not now that she's carrying a baby.
Well, potato chips aren't going to hurt that baby now, Mum.
Dim Sims, pizzas. She'd live on garbage rather than cook.
Look, I've had a word with the doctor here, and I agree with him. What you need is complete rest. The best way you can help Judy is to stop worrying. She's going to need you whole and hearty when that baby comes.
But what if she should go into labor with nobody there to help her?
Yes, I agree she needs someone. And what about her parents?
I don't know.
And Meg told me about your daughter's feelings on this, but surely under the circumstances?
You don't know Lorraine, Doctor. She can be very stubborn.
And what about Judy's father?
We couldn't have kept the flat if it hadn't been for Ron. He's been as generous as any man could be behind his wife's back. But he's at work all day. That's not much use to Judy.
Well, I think he should be informed of the status quo. He'd like to know.
Yes. I suppose you're right.
Now, why don't you give me his work number? Then I can call him when I get back to Wentworth.
It's in that book there. I'm glad you're back at Wentworth. You were needed there.
Well, I'm not really back, Mum, just till they find a replacement.
They might get another doctor, but they'll never be able to replace you.
Oh, thank you, Mum, but I'm very willing to be replaced.
Did you get it?
No sweat. Latest edition.
There she is. There's Tony. Who's that?
It's the girl that shot her. Can't you read?
Shot her?
Yeah.
How is she?
Well, considering she was shot 3 times at close range, I'd say she's not well.
I know that girl.
Is Tony gonna die or what?
Well, it says here her condition's critical. Nah, she'll live. Take a silver bullet to kill her.
Who'd done it? Who'd do a thing like that? Who'd have the nerve?
She's the one. She's the one I saw being taken by Mrs. Jackson into solitary.
Yeah? Well, what do you know?
She's only a bit of a kid.
Well, I wouldn't want to be in her size 5s.
No. If Tony dies, she'll be here on a permanent basis. And if she doesn't, she'll be waiting for her on the outside. God, she's young to be in that much trouble.
She doesn't know what trouble is.
Where did you get that? No, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Don't crush it, I haven't read the comics yet.
Got any news, Mrs. Jackson?
How's Tony?
Yeah, look, when are we going to get our radios back? What harm can that do, Mrs. Jackson?
You know what Mr. Fletcher said? All privileges cancelled.
Oh, how long is he going to keep that up?
He hasn't consulted me, B.
I used to think Mrs. Davidson was a pain.
Oh, she's a little ripper compared with that one.
Yeah, she can't come back too soon for me.
Don't hold your breath.
She is coming back, isn't she?
We're not going to be stuck with old Hammerhead.
Mr. Fletcher's in charge now, and whilst he's in charge, his word is law. To the staff as well, if you're thinking of taking it out on us.
So we just have to cop it sweet, eh?
And I mean all visitors. No more buddy-buddy arrangements. From now on, all visitors must be referred to me for clearance.
Yes, Mr. Fletcher. Does that include solicitors?
Yes, it does.
Well, if you're not available, sir.
I'll always be available.
Well, in cases of emergency, does Miss Bennett have any authority in this area?
No, she doesn't.
Morning, Mrs. Nichols, Miss Watson.
I'm Jim Fletcher, acting governor in Mrs. Davidson's absence. You're,
Dr. Weissman.
Ah.
What's happened to Mrs. Davidson?
Did the department send you Dr. Weissman?
Yes, I'm here to evaluate Miss Rosalind Colson.
Get her to the interview room, will you please, Miss Watson? Right this way, please, Doctor.
Thank you. But you knew your mother had criminal associates.
I knew she wanted to protect me from them.
But you knew the source of her income.
She didn't talk about it much.
Oh, you must have suspected. Tell me, did it worry you at all?
You have to accept things you can't change. I knew that she loved me. That was what mattered to me.
Tell me, how do you define love, Rosalind?
Responsibility.
Go on.
You accept full responsibility for someone. That's love. My mother always looked after me. When she got old, I was going to look after her.
But if she loved you, she would have tried to keep you with her, surely?
No. She thought that the life that she led wasn't good enough for me. That's why she sent me to the nuns. She wanted me to be brought up like a lady. She thought they'd make a better fist of it than she could.
So you didn't see much of her then?
We always had our holidays together, just the two of us. And she wrote to me every week, never missed. She rang me just before she was killed. She was scared.
What did she say?
She said she was quitting it all and coming up to Sydney. We were going to go away somewhere together. Then that woman shot her.
Antonia McNally?
Yes. I couldn't let her get away with it.
But you knew it was wrong to take the law into your own hands.
Mrs. McNally bought the law. She owned it. She twisted the law like a corkscrew. So it was up to me.
You didn't feel any guilt at all?
No. She killed my mother. I would have abrogated my responsibility if I'd let her get away with it.
Yes, but you knew you'd have to pay for it.
That's beside the point, Doctor.
No regrets at all, then?
No. Why should there be? I've done nothing wrong.
Well, that was an experience.
In what way?
Well, I've never had a teenage murderess who sounded so convincing.
What's your opinion of her?
Well, if she intends pleading insanity, she's just flunked her interview.
Sane?
Oh, yes, quite sane. There's no remorse, no guilt, no concern about the shooting at all, but quite sane. In fact, I could find no indication of mental imbalance whatsoever.
Hello, Mum.
Ron!
How are you feeling?
Oh, fine.
That's not what Dr. Miller says.
Oh, he exaggerates. He shouldn't have worried you.
I'm glad he did. If it wasn't for him, I'd never have known. Why didn't you contact me before?
I thought I could manage, Ron.
Trouble with you is you don't know when you're beaten.
I didn't want to put any more on your plate.
My plate? Look, I think the best thing you and Judy can do is to come home with me.
Have you asked Lorraine?
She'll come round. She's got to.
You couldn't get Judy to go home now. She's got her own idea of a family unit, and it's her and me and the baby. She's set on it.
I don't know what a bloke can do then.
Well, you could drop in and see that she's not eating all that rubbishy food she's so fond of. Get her to buy some steak, Ron, and cook it with 3 vegetables, and eat fruit and cheese and plenty of milk.
Easier said than done. I'll try.
Wish they'd let me go home. She's near her time. I don't want her to be there on her own.
No, don't you worry. Just you get well. I don't know what I can do, but I'll do something.
The women are getting very bored and restless.
Well, they weren't sent here to be entertained. They can do without their toys for a little while longer.
They are keeping up a constant pressure on the staff. It'd help if we had some idea of when restrictions were going to be lifted.
They'll get their privileges back when they earn them. And they're not going to earn them by pressuring my staff.
You might consult your staff, Mr. Fletcher, but with due respect, I think we work more closely with the women than you do.
Has any officer been complaining?
No, not exactly complaining.
Good. We don't want any malcontents in Wentworth.
What will I tell the women, then?
Why tell them anything?
I think this situation should be diffused before it gets out of control. I've lived through several riots at Wentworth. I wouldn't want another one.
I can understand your anxiety, Mrs. Jackson. But please leave me to handle this my own way. I know what I'm doing.
Meanwhile, the devil finds mischief for idle hands to do.
I don't intend them to be idle. I'm going to start up the exercise program again. Everybody out in the grounds, no one exempted. It'll do them a damn sight more good than lolling around the rec room.
Mrs. Davidson found it advisable to ignore that the last time, Mr. Fletcher.
I'm not interested in Mrs. Davidson's reasons. I'm in charge now.
But when she comes back...
If she comes back. She may not, you know.
Ah, hello, Patty.
Hello and goodbye again. Anything happen I should know about?
Still the calm before the storm.
You think it's going to rain too?
Well, I've tried to warn the master. Fat chance. We'll do this my way, Mrs. Jackson.
All set for the big collision.
He's come up with a scheme to keep their minds off the telly. We're going to have a keep fit campaign.
Not again?
He's going to have them all out in the grounds. Arms bend, knees stretch.
What does he think he's running? Star Act 17. They won't buy that. They wouldn't before. Even with Erica around. They're hardly likely to now.
Try to tell him that.
I've got to do something, Meg.
Yes, well, I wish I knew what.
Hold on, Meg. Were you off, huh?
No, not tonight.
May I drive you?
No, thanks.
You sure?
Well, it would be out of your way.
Well, why didn't you let me judge that?
Well, I promised Mum I'd look in on Judy, see how she is.
So did I. No time like the present, eh? Good. Come on, then. Night, Sal.
Good night, sir.
There you are. It's just the way you like it.
Yeah. Just right, love.
How's Andrew?
He's okay. Got his cricket bat out yesterday. Bit early, I told him, but you know how keen he is. Aren't you going to ask after your mother?
You just want to go home and say she asked after you? Dad, it's just no good.
Come back, Judy.
I'd rather die on the street.
Well, there's a fair chance of that. Look, it's no use, love. You can't stay here on your own.
There's no such word as can't. You used to tell me that.
I didn't know the odds against you then. You haven't made it easy for yourself, love.
Oh, Dad, I'm okay. I can get to the hospital when the time comes and I know what to do.
Yeah. Famous last words. Who's that?
You can bet it won't be Mum.
Hello, Judy.
Hello. Mrs. Jackson and Dr. Miller.
Dr. Miller? You rang me today.
You must be Judy's father.
Oh, did you see Gran?
Yes, and she's very worried about you.
Why is she worrying about me? I'm not.
We're more concerned with your grandmother, Judy. She keeps trying to get out of hospital because of you.
She can't discharge herself, can she?
She's having a damn good try.
There's nothing else for it, Judy. You'll have to get a live-in nurse.
Dad, it'll cost too much.
There are 3 lives at stake. Yours, Mum's, and the baby's. Cost doesn't come into it.
I know somebody you wouldn't have to pay. She's a girl who used to be in Wentworth.
She's a crim?
Well, no more than Mum was, and at the moment she needs a place to stay.
Do you know this girl, Mrs. Jackson?
If it's Karen Travers, yes, I do.
What do you think of her?
Well, she's honest and very sincere, and I think quite capable in an emergency.
Well, what about her, Judy? Now, I'm warning you, if you tell me you can look after yourself once more...
Okay. I give in. I can't have Gran coming back here in her condition anyway.
Will you see this girl for us, Doctor?
Well, I think it'd be better if you saw her yourself.
She's not a personal friend of yours.
Well, I don't have a lot of influence with her at the moment.
Well, Mrs. Jackson, could you ask her?
Well, your father will have to see her first, Judy. I think it better if he handled the interview.
Well, is there something wrong with the girl? Why is everyone so uptight about her?
Don't be personal, Judy.
There's nothing wrong with her. She's a lovely girl.
This is where it used to be, right here.
Oh, stop going on about the telly.
Hey, why don't we play cards? Because they took the cards, stupid. Where have you been?
Hey, maybe we could make some.
Yeah, out of what?
We could use dunny paper.
Dunny paper? You wouldn't leave that brand of yours to the nation, Lizzie.
We could get some dunny paper and we could mark it with clubs, hearts, diamonds...
Yeah, but how do you hold a full hand of dunny paper?
We could stiffen them.
With what, for God's sake?
Starch.
Or we could dip them in egg and breadcrumbs just in case we need a snack.
Look out, here comes Hammerhead.
Silence, please. Mr. Fletcher has something to say to you all.
Tomorrow morning at 6:30, I expect to see you standing in 2 straight lines in front of Block 3.
Oh, hello. He's ordered the firing squad.
You're to participate in a program of exercises designed to make you fit and keep you fit. Lizzie will be excused because of her heart condition, as will any other woman on sick call. However, if you're thinking of going on sick call without a good reason, let me make this very clear. Any malingering will be dealt with by a double dose of exercise. Thank you. Good night.
Oh, God. Where does he think he is? The bloody army.
What are we going to do about it? Do we tell him to get stuffed?
No. He can't put us all in solitary. He'll just go for the ringleader.
Who?
Oh, who else? Oh, well, I don't suppose I mind. What's another stretch in the pound?
Hey, perhaps when Davo comes back...
Oh, I don't think so. I heard him talking in the staff room. We could have him as permanent.
Oh.
What are we going to do? Oh, it's not fair, Bea. You cotton the lot.
Yeah, well, it's tough at the top.
Hey, perhaps if we got something really good together and you pretended you didn't know a thing about it.
Do you reckon he'd buy it?
Yeah, sure, if she said he was on his side.
Oh, Mr. Fletcher, what naughty girls. I wonder what on earth's got into them.
I reckon that'd work.
You know, it might at that.
Is that you, Mrs. Jackson?
No, this is a friend of Tony's. Tony McNally's.
Go away.
We heard you shot Tony.
I hope she's dead.
If she's dead, you're going to wish you were.
Hurry up, you lot. You have 10 seconds to get outside and into 2 straight lines.
What are we going to do, Bee?
I'm going to do exactly as Vera tells me. But the rest of you are going to stand perfectly still. The first one to move gets it from me. Here they come. Well, how long are we going to wait here?
Until I'm ready.
This is bloody stupid. You're never going to get them to cooperate. Fletcher couldn't.
First, we're going to warm up by running on the spot. When I blow the whistle, begin. All right, Smith, you can stop. You think you're pretty smart, don't you?
What have I done? I did what you told me.
You all heard what Mr. Fletcher said yesterday. He said you're all to exercise. But it seems that you don't understand English. Take a word like privilege. That's something you earn. Something you get for doing what you're told. Things like watching television, reading newspapers, listening to the radio. Of course, if you don't want to do these things, just continue the way you're going. Well, Smith?
I've got nothing more to say.
Officer Watson, take them back inside.
I told you it wouldn't work.
I know.
You mean you did it on purpose? Just to stop them getting their privileges back?
No. Smith was the one we were after. One false move out of her and she'd be back in solitary again. Would have been easy to get the others in shape then. Trouble is, she's getting too cunning.
There'll be a lot to do in the garden of the halfway house.
We had a lot of practice in the garden at Wentworth.
Oh, this will be harder than Wentworth. You saw the state it was in. But once we've got it cleared, you can grow what you like, as long as it's not the dreaded weed.
Ever smoke marijuana?
No, I haven't. I'm not one for cheap thrills. I'd rather have control over my own head.
If you've got that sort of a head.
The greatest trip there is doing something really well. Everyone can excel at something if they work at it. Look, I want you to ring these numbers. Bill's a carpenter, Dennis is a plumber. Get them to meet you at the halfway house and give you a quote on the work that has to be done.
What are we going to call it?
The house.
Yeah. Yes, I like that. That's better than a halfway house. Halfway house sounds as if we're only halfway there.
Well, we are, aren't we?
I'll get it.
I'm looking for Mrs. Travers.
Bring him in, Karen.
Thank you. Sorry to intrude.
Sit down. My name's Angela Jeffries. This is Karen Travers. What can we do to help?
How do you do? I don't know if you know Judith Ann Watkins.
Judith Ann? Yes, Mum's granddaughter.
I'm her father.
Is Mum all right?
Yes, she's in hospital, but she'll be all right as long as we can keep her there and stop her worrying. That's the trouble. For a sick old lady, she takes some holding down.
Is there anything we can do to help?
Well, I'm not so worried about Mum just now. It's Judith. Her baby's due any minute. I was going to get a nurse, only Dr. Miller thought Mrs. Travers might like to keep an eye on her.
Oh, he did he?
Yes, Mrs. Jackson, too, spoke very highly of you. They thought you needed somewhere to stay. But if it's a question of money, Mrs. Travers...
Not a question of money, Mr. Watkins. I just wish Dr. Miller had stopped interfering in my life.
Well, I had no idea you felt so strongly about this as Mrs. Travers. I just thought you might like to stay with Judy, that's all. I'm sorry if it's too much trouble.
Trouble is something Karen knows all about. It's compassion she has to study up on, Mr. Watkins.
I wouldn't ask, only if Mum discharges herself from hospital with pleurisy. She's as good as gone.
Karen?
Yes, Mr. Watkins, I will come over. I'll get myself sorted out here and I'll come this afternoon.
They know damn well I can't put all of them in solitary.
They're waiting for you to break. Don't give them the pleasure.
Well, I don't want to push them to the point where they've got nothing more to lose. Would he expect real trouble if I do that?
They're not in charge. You are. Let them know it.
They ran Erica Davidson like a toy train. Don't let them do that to you.
Well, I'm hardly likely to, am I?
No, they won't beat you.
Come in.
The prisoner Colson, sir.
Ah, good morning, Colson. Miss Bennett, I'm sorry, do you mind?
No, of course not.
Now, Colson, you know why you're here and why bail is out of the question? Well, do you? Well, the prison psychiatrist has certified you as sane, so I'd expect you to behave yourself while you're here. Now, any breach of the regulations will be punished by a spell in solitary or by removal of privileges. What sleeping arrangements have been made?
None as yet. But I think under the circumstances it would be better to place Colson in a dormitory. Safety in numbers.
Well, she doesn't have to rely on the other prisoners for protection, Mrs. Jackson. Surely the staff can manage that.
With due respect, Mr. Fletcher, the staff can't be everywhere at once.
They can if they're deployed intelligently. Now, Colson, if you have any problem with any of the other prisoners, you must inform an officer immediately. Now, I can't stress how important this is. Do you understand?
Yes.
What beds are available?
Well, there are no single cells available. I think she'd settle in best with Birdsworth and Anderson.
No, not with Doreen Anderson. You know her tendencies. I'm surprised you even suggested it.
I've never seen Doreen Anderson as a threat.
Not with Anderson, not under any circumstances.
There's a spare bed in B. Smith's cell.
Well, she won't learn any good from Smith. But she might be the best of a bad lot. Take her away, Mrs. Jackson.
Well, this is it.
It's not so different from school. I shared a room there, too.
Well, Wentworth's a lot different from school, I'm afraid.
Who sleeps here?
Well, a girl named Phyllis Hunt. But you needn't worry about her. She's in the sick bay at the moment. Would you like to make up your bed? If I were you, I'd take Mr. Fletcher's advice very seriously and report any threats made to you. What are you doing here, Eves?
Tony's mates will be waiting for you when you get out. She's got lots of mates, dollface.
Now, you get out of here, Eves. And if I ever find you near that prisoner again, I'll have you slapped in the pound so fast you won't know what's hit you.
Is that all you're taking?
Well, I won't be away for that long. Mum should be out of hospital soon.
I don't know. Pleurisy has a way of hanging on, especially if the patient is old and frail.
Well, do you think I should take all my things?
I think that might be wisest.
Angela, are you trying to get rid of me?
Well, I don't want you to come back here, if that's what you mean. I want you to take over the running of the halfway house.
You're really going to let me try?
Well, it should be ready by the time Mum Brooks gets out of hospital.
You think I can do it?
You'll make a go of it.
Oh, Angela, thank you. Oh.
Look at the time. You better go.
We will see each other again.
Well, of course. You know, I'm up to here in the project.
Oh, no. You see, Angela, I don't want to lose you. What I mean is...
Hey.
You're the last person in the world I thought would turn their back on me.
Listen, Rabbit. I know what's going on in that little head of yours. But this is no time to make decisions like this. If I hadn't told you I was gay, you'd have just accepted my friendship as friendship. And that's all it is. Believe me, Karen.
But, Angela, you're about the only person in the world who's ever been really good to me. I love you.
Of course you do. But there are different kinds of love. Just because we care what happens to each other, it doesn't mean we're destined to be lovers, Karen.
You're laughing at me.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling you. You don't know what you want right now. How could you? You've been too fractured. Just give yourself time to heal and then go out after what you want. My guess is it's not going to be another woman.
How do you know that?
I know. Don't you think I've ever had to make decisions like that?
I'm so stupid. I don't know anything about anything, do I?
And that is the beginning of all wisdom. Now, come on. That young lady needs you more than I do.
I'll come back and get the rest of my things later. I still think you're the greatest.
Oh, yes. Me and Muhammad Ali.
I mean it.
I tell you what. You come back to me in 2 years' time, and I'll give you some serious thought.
Don't make any promises you can't keep.
Oh.
Oh, hello.
Hello?
Got a fag on you?
No, I don't smoke.
Oh, fat lot of use you're going to be, then.
Sorry.
My name's B. Smith. What's yours?
Rosalind Colson.
Yeah, I thought it might be. I hear you're pretty quick on the trigger.
Is she dead?
Oh, we don't know. Not in here. We've got no radio, no television and no newspapers. All thanks to Mr. Fletcher, our acting governor. Have you met him yet? Bit of a bastard, isn't he? What's the matter? Don't you swear. Good. Where do you come from?
St. Teresa's. It's a convent school.
Wow, are you a long way from home?
Were you a friend of Tony McNally's?
Tony? No. Still, she wasn't here long enough for me to really find out, though.
What do you mean?
Well, I had a score to settle with her, but you deprived me of the pleasure. Yeah. Still, I reckon it took guts to shoot McNally, I'll give you that much. Well, kid, welcome to Wentworth. You might as well come and meet the others. Doreen and Lizzie are just down the corridor.
Doreen Anderson?
Yeah.
The governor told me she was dangerous.
She's about as lethal as a rubber duck.
But the governor said...
The governor? Who do you mean? Fletch. Listen, love, you don't take any notice of the screws, least of all him. The only way Doreen could hurt you would be by boring you to death.
Who are the screws?
The screws are the demons, the narcs, the warders. God, don't you know anything? Hi, girls. Look what I brought you. The fastest gun in the convent. Rosalind, this is Doreen, and this old bag here is Lizzie.
Gee, you're the one who shot Tony and McNally with a gun.
No, she used a loaded finger.
I wouldn't be game.
What do you mean about the convent?
That's where she was before she came here, learning how to be a lady.
Oh, the nuns wouldn't let you shoot people.
They didn't know.
Oh, but they should have learnt you better than that.
McNally shot my mother. The law didn't punish her. I had to do something.
Oh, well, better out than in.
She was better out than in, your rat bag. Notice how terrifyingly dangerous she is. Young Ros here was a bit towy about the dangerous criminals in here.
Don't worry, love. We look after you. Doreen's going out soon, but Bea and yours truly, we're going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, long enough.
Wish I was.
Doreen likes it in here.
How long they keep you in here depends on what you're charged with. Was it murder or attempted murder?
Oh, saved by the bell. Come on, love, that's tea.
From now on, there's to be constant surveillance. No prisoners to be left unsupervised.
All because of this Colson girl, Mr. Fletcher?
Well, from what I've heard, this McNally woman's got a pretty long arm. It could still reach inside Wentworth. Now, there's going to be no little accidents while I'm governor.
We're doing the best we can to prevent them.
We're too short-staffed to do any more.
Yes, well, I realise that. That's why I've rearranged the rosters to allow for extra overtime. Now, there's to be maximum staffing at every change of shift.
For how long?
For as long as I think it's necessary.
Are we to be relieved by temporary staff?
There's none available, so that's out of the question. Now, if that's all, ladies, thank you for your attention.
Well, that's got them all on their toes. It's good to see this place administered properly at last.
Yeah, we're still very undermanned, though.
Oh, the staff are all dedicated officers. They know the problems. They won't let you down. Anyway, who complains about overtime on payday?
I'm not here to win a popularity contest.
Would you like some help revising the rosters?
No, thanks, Vera. I'll do that myself on my way out.
Oh, well, how about coming over for dinner tonight and we can combine business with pleasure?
Thanks for the offer, but no, I don't think so.
Oh, come on, Jim. I'm not going to bite.
No, of course not. It's just that,
What then?
well, I've moved back in with the family.
I see.
But it seemed like the best thing to do, for the kid's sake.
Only for the kid's sake?
Isn't it sweet? Gran knitted me 6 of them, little cardies for the baby.
I think they're called matinee jackets.
Oh, that's silly. How many matinees does the baby go to? They're so tiny. Gran said you'd be married. Did you ever have a baby?
I wanted one.
I want mine. I couldn't bear it if I lost it.
You won't lose it.
I'm glad you've come. I mean, I could look after myself all right, but it's nice to have the company.
How is your Gran?
Oh, Dad said she's been much better since you've been here. I mean, I don't know why they think I need to be babysitted. Was your room all right?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable, thank you.
It was Gran's room. And she'd have to be the tidiest person on this earth.
I think that's something you learn in prison. A place for everything, everything in its place.
What were you in for? Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked that. Oh, it couldn't have been that bad if Gran was so pleased you were coming.
Oh, well, your Gran and I are old friends.
Will you be seeing her when she gets back?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that won't mean you're being consorting, will it? I mean, you and Gran being friends.
No, I'll speak to my parole officer. Shouldn't be any problem.
Was that Jean Vernon?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she was Gran's too. Oh, that's good. I couldn't bear it if Gran had to go back to prison.
I don't think I could bear to go back there myself.
Was it really that bad?
Well, it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you show me where everything is? If I'm going to keep you healthy and well...
I'm not that bad. Gran exaggerates.
I know what I was like. Oh, when I was your age.
Oh, these make dunning paper look good.
Oh, well, what are we going to play then?
We could play dominoes.
Dominoes? There'll be snakes and ladders next.
I can play dominoes.
We could make them out of cardboard.
Yeah, mark dots all over them.
Yeah, we could make 3 out of every card.
Well, they finally cracked. Dominoes.
Hey, Mrs. Jackson.
Yes, Lizzie?
Why have we been watched so hard? I mean, you can't almost go to the toot without being watched.
Governor's orders.
Governor's orders. He's paranoid. That's what he is. Off his rocker.
Tony was a mate of mine, Dollface. I'm going to take pieces out
Shut
of
off,
you.
you great ox, or I'll knock your block off. Go on, get. Don't worry, kid.
Hadn't I better tell the warder?
About what?
Oh, you don't go lagging, love.
No, we don't tell the warders nothing.
The governor said...
No, no way.
Can I tell her I want to go to the toilet?
Yeah, you can tell her that much.
It's on, right after we've tucked him up for the night.
Oh, I don't know, Joyce. Is everybody in it?
Well, everybody who's against compulsory overtime, and that means everybody.
Everybody except Vera, I suppose.
Well, we haven't asked Vera yet.
I don't know. I don't like running to the union. It ought to be the last resort.
Time for your lesson, Dollface. Time you learned you don't go shooting at my mates.
Bringing in the union is an admission of incompetence somehow. Can't we find a way to work it out ourselves?
Oh, not with Jim Fletcher in the opposing corner. He doesn't know how to compromise, Meg. The union's our only weapon.
I suppose you're right. Okay, I'll be there.
Right.
Oh, hell.
What's the matter?
Smith and Eves are missing.
What?
Is she dead?
No, she's breathing.
Now get a stretcher, then find the governor and let him know.
Right.
You were told to keep them under constant supervision.
I only turned my back for half a minute.
You know what this lot can do in half a minute. I want a word with you, Smith. Where did you go when you left this room?
Did I leave this room?
You weren't here a minute ago, Smith.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because I had to go to the loo, isn't it? Is the governor against that too?
You didn't ask permission.
Well, when you've got to go, you've got to go.
Stand up, Coulson. Presumably you were in the toilets at the time. Did you see her?
Yes. Yes, I saw her there.
Another rotten little liar.
She is not a liar. She'd been brought up by the penguins. You know, the holy penguins, the nuns.
Don't get funny with me, Birdsworth. As for you two, I don't believe either of you. But the governor will sort you out. Now get moving. You know the way. You better come along too.
There's no one on duty here.
Oh, there is now.
There was an incident in the recreation room previous to the attack. I saw Eves threaten Coulson. Before I could take action, Smith had warned her off.
Did Smith threaten Eves with physical violence?
I heard her use the words, "I'll knock your block off."
And did you try and knock a block off, Smith?
Who, me? I never laid a glove on her. Well, why should I get involved? It's that Screw's job to keep the peace here, not mine.
Had the prisoners been properly supervised, Mrs. Jackson, this wouldn't have happened.
I'm sorry.
Where were you when Smith and Eves left the rec room?
I was discussing a routine matter with Officer Barry.
And they just walked right by you?
We had our backs turned momentarily from the door.
I see. Well, this routine matter must have been very engrossing. However, we won't discuss that now. Smith, I'm quite sure that you had something to do with this attack, so I'm sending you to solitary.
Oh, you can't do that. You've got no proof.
I don't need any proof.
That's not fair. She was only...
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Go on, Coulson. She's only trying to what? Had Eve threatened you before?
The governor spoke to you, Coulson.
You've been in a lot of trouble since you've come here, Coulson. Had you confided in us in the first place, Smith wouldn't be on her way to solitary. Eves wouldn't be unconscious. Now, you've got to learn to rely on the staff, not the prisoners. We run this place, not them. We're in charge here.
And you better get that straight, because you're going to be here a long time.
Antonia McNally died in hospital half an hour ago.
He used to give me roses. I wish he could again. But that was on the outside, and things were different then. On the inside, the sun still shines, and the rain falls down. But the sun and rain are prisoners too when morning comes around. Last night I dreamed we were together, sharing all the love we'd known, till I had to face the nightmare of waking up alone. On the inside the roses grow, they don't mind the stony ground, but the roses here are prisoners too when morning comes around.